There's much to talk about, from the economy to trade relations, as well as geopolitical shifts. One thing that we have our eye on this morning, and I'm joined by an expert guest, Professor Yao Yang, who is the Dean at the Shui Lake Advanced Finance Institute with the Shanghai University of Finance and Economics. Thanks so much for joining us today, Prof.
Thank you for having me.
One of the things I'd like to jump right into is that phone call that we are all anticipating between the leaders of China and the US. We know they've just come out of talks from Madrid, and that talk about a possible deal over TikTok. How much do you think this call or this direct engagement between the two leaders will actually move the needle when it comes to China-US ties and where it stands now?
It's going to be a very significant event, right? First, it shows that the Madrid talk has reached an agreement from the leaked news. We now know TikTok, the problem is going to be solved. You know, TikTok used to be a kind of a hot potato in the hands of President Trump, right? So the U.S. Congress already had a bill to shut down TikTok or force TikTok to be sold to American companies. But I think this time there will be a compromise has been reached, right? But the details are still in the shadow. But I think after the phone call, the two presidents, we're going to know the details. In the end, it's going to be a compromise. TikTok is going to operate still in the United States. Probably there will be a joint venture between TikTok, ByteDance, and American companies. I think that's a good solution.
I do think it's interesting, though, that it's the U.S. side that has confirmed that or said that there is going to be this call, but China has kept its cards quite close to its chest, not actually confirming the call. Why do you think this is so? And do you think we'll actually hear anything besides TikTok about trade?
Well, it's always Chinese style, right? Chinese government doesn't allow things if it's not ironed out, right? But TikTok will be on the list. But more importantly, the two presidents are going to set the direction for the next round or next rounds of talks. That's going to settle down the U.S.-China trade disputes. I think a compromise will be reached, and that's going to be good news for U.S.-China relations and also for the whole world.
Will it take an actual meeting between the two leaders, as has also been widely anticipated? But would a meeting even move the needle when it comes to long-standing issues, export controls between these two superpowers?
Well, I believe after the phone call, there will be at least one round of negotiation. And hopefully, in that negotiation, a grand deal will be stricken, including TikTok, export control, and the tariff raise, all sorts of things. If the talk goes smoothly, I think the two leaders probably are going to meet in the next APEC meeting, which is scheduled in South Korea, I think on October 31 and November 1, right?
But shifting gears as well, I mean, the external tensions is just about one of the challenges that's facing China's economy. This week we saw, rather sluggish economic data for the August period. We are also seeing persistent deflation. Do you think this is a signal of cyclical weakness or bigger, more persistent structural issues in the economy?
Well, if you look at the growth data of the first half year, or January to August, it's actually quite good. It's actually beyond people's expectation, particularly export, right? So export grew by 7.2% in the first half of the year. Afterwards, it slowed down a little bit, but still positive growth, right? So, direct export to U.S. declined, but export to other countries, particularly the ASEAN, increased dramatically, right? So many of the goods still go to the United States. So if the fundamentals have not been changed, then I don't think the trade flows will be changed. Right?
But what about when it comes to retail sales or factory output? The data there is showing weakness despite stimulus measures. Although this week we saw new plans to try and boost consumption in services. Is that signs of concern? Do you think China will be able to achieve its GDP growth target for this year of around 5%?
Well, the government has to spend a lot of effort to boost the domestic consumption. For example, subsidy to consumption, right? So I just recently moved to Shanghai. I benefited from that because I bought a lot of things from the shops, right? I think the government is now satisfied with all the stimulus package announced by the last two sessions, which was held in March, right? So the government raised 12 trillion RMB debts, new debts for this year. So the government believes this is enough. I don't think this year the growth target will be a huge concern for the government. It was announced the target was around 5%, which means I think between 4.7 and 5.2, that's okay. Probably, in the end, we're going to reach 4.8 or 4.9. That's good enough.
But that would signal a shift that we have seen perhaps coming from the Chinese leadership, where in the past there's been so much attention paid to China's economic growth.
Right.
Is that a signaling shift that you're expecting also as we are looking into more details of the next 5-year plan, which is set to begin from next year? Do you expect a shift in priorities?
Yeah, definitely. This shift has been going on for several years now. I think the emphasis now is more towards innovation, so-called new productive forces, which means China is going to spend much more efforts on new technology, particularly technologies that United States put export control on. So even if the U.S.-China relations will come down in the next few years, but this kind of technological competition is going to be here for a really long time.
Prof, we have time for just one last very quick question. I would like to get your thoughts on what potential moves we may see for the rest of the year from the Chinese leadership. We know that there's the fourth plenum coming up. A lot of attention on how China will close out the year with its economy. What is one move that you are anticipating when it comes to stimulus or moves to boost the economy for this final stretch?
Well, we in the upcoming fourth plenary meeting, the 15th five-year plan will be announced. So we're going to see, the direction for China in the next 5 years. I expect that a lot of emphasis will be put on innovation, competition, technological competition with the United States. Right? That's going to be the focus. Okay, but I don't think we are going to see any more stimulus package throughout the year. I think the government is quite pleased with the current growth momentum in China.
Well, thank you so much, Prof. It will be interesting to see how investors react to the possibility of there not being more stimulus for the rest of the year. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you for having me.
Yao Yang, who is the Dean of Di Shui Lik Advanced Finance Institute, Shanghai University of Finance and Economics.